Today we're showing you our HeliPass, which is a digital product passport carrier for cables. Now you're going to ask, what's a DPP? Well, it tells you how to trash that cable when it's at the end of life. It contains the information such as the kind of plastic that the cable is made out of and who's going to recycle it. Okay, that's far into the future. Past 2027 in Europe, but we can do this today. That is all the use cases for an RFID on a cable, like a globally unique serial number on a cable, on a tag that is an RFID, in this case an NFC inlay that is attached to our HeliTag structure, in which has this wonderful clip which attaches to a cable without need for a zip tie, which means no trash is left behind when you attach a HeliTag onto a cable. And let's look at this more closely. The structure has a spring, so this device, as you can see, can be attached and detached without any issue to a cable, which makes it easy to use and super fast to use. It's also extremely ruggedized because it's made out of injection molded plastic. So the springs are very robust and will withstand being frozen and being exposed to heat. So if you want to protect this from the environment, you can sleeve a shrink tube above it, which if you want to prevent it from being removed, well, I guess you can put a tie up on it and you won't be able to remove it. But the whole point is to have a tag that you can reuse at the end of life of the product and reuse it again and again. The NFC function is super cool to use on it because it works with just any phone. The phone is in search mode for an NFC, and once it detects the tag, it opens to a web page. In this case, the web page on tapdpp.app, which tells you that this HeliPass contains, as we can see here, an ST Micro ST25TA Class 4 NFC chip, which has 200 years of data retention, which is pretty cool. We can see the model number of the HeliTag, the serial number of the HeliTag, which incidentally is the unique identifier of the NFC chip, the HeliTag model, what the HeliTag is compatible with in terms of cables, and any other information you might want to encode inside the NFC memory off the internet if you want it to be. So say for instance you want to put an ISO 18975 compliant deep link on the tag. You'll be able to encode in the URI that is stored on the in-depth record of the NFC tag, which will open without need for any application on your phone, with just a plain vanilla URL reader that's looping in the background of the mobile phone. You'll be able to open directly to the web page pointed to by that deep link without any username or password, and that URI will contain the website and the barcode GTIN number associated if you're using a GS1, which we recommend, barcode, as well as the tuple with the barcode, which happens to be the serial number that is globally unique of the device, which incidentally is the NFC tag unique ID. And in the case of a Type 5 NFC, that number is pretty big. So there is no name clashing, which means unique devices all across your network. So let's go back to what's cool about the HeliTag. Well, it also works with tiny cables, right? So now we have it, as you can see, being attached to a 3mm cable. And in the same manner, it attaches to a bigger cable. Now you have it with NFC functionality on a tiny diameter cable. So what would you do with this? Say you're operating a fiber optic network and you want your patch cables and your patch panels to be uniquely identified. What you can also do with it with our mobile app, which we call tapdpp.app. You can dress up methods of procedures and intervention procedures, which lets, say, an engineer working in the network operations center ask a tech in the field to prove that he's handling the right cable before the intervention is granted permission to pursue. You can prescribe a complete procedure is pushed on a web page, and the mobile application lets following that procedure very precisely, so you don't create havocs in the field where the wrong cable is being manipulated. And last but not least, we really would like your feedback on what you'd do with a HeliTag if it were to contain not only an RFID that is just a label tag, but actually an RFID that is a sensor chip, which we have. So imagine a HeliTag that contains a temperature reading sensor chip, which would let you measure at a distance without any batteries nor wires being attached to the tag, the actual temperature of the cable itself. We also have some interesting sensors for the agriculture market where the sensor chip is reading light levels. And we'll tell you more about that, but it lets you instrument grow lights in a greenhouse. We also have other use cases that are in our product development pipeline, which are for the construction industry, which we feel is going to really make it super easy to instrument infrastructure, which are built with things that are like rebars. So we'll tell you more about that. So the technology that we have is easy to use. It lends to a product that is reusable. It does not require cutting the tail of a zip tie, which happens to be done at 100 billion times a year on Earth right now, so we won't be able to go after 100 billion units a year use cases right away, because zip ties are actually useful for tying things together. But when it comes time to just put a label on a cable, well, the HeliTag is a contender to a zip tie. We also have patented the way to place the RFID antenna at an offset distance from the absorber, that is the metal inside the cable, which basically means that if you were to put the RFID straight on the cable itself, it would not work as well as by offsetting from the cable itself. And this is what we do with the HeliTag. So the antenna is now at a distance from the metal inside the cable, which makes it work reliably. Just a single loop on one side and another loop on the other side is sufficient to provide a really robust means of attachment and a super fast and super easy user experience for the end user. And it'll change what can be done with RFIDs on, say, cable harnesses being attached to vehicles. It will change what can be done with RFIDs on infrastructure in buildings, such as HVAC control wires and HVAC cooling lines, because it's not just about cables, it's also about hoses and pipes and oil lines and wires of all sorts. And you know what? Climbing ropes. That's the eye-opener for a lot of people. So what would you do with NFC functionality that is embedded inside the climbing rope? Well, it just so happens that it's not easy to tell what is the in-service date of a climbing rope. When was it manufactured? What's the length of it? Who's actually been using it in the past? Who's the current owner? And what's the globally unique serial number for the climbing rope? What's the manufacturer? What's the pull strength on it? What's the snap rating for it? Is it a climbing rope for arborists, or it's a climbing rope for climbers. Well, you can tell, but not everybody can tell. And what we've done is we've actually made our structure so small that it can actually fit within the bend radius of the climbing rope. We also have it in this size of an RFID. So you can see we have both NFC and UHF on the climbing rope, but it's not nearly as convenient as when it's embedded within the rope itself, which turns it into less of a UHF and more of an NFC function. But it so happens to be that everybody's got NFC in their phones, so the need to do it at UHF is for asset tracking, and that might just be for the store and not in your hands as an end user. So again, going back to our use case for RFIDs on cables, carrying DPPs. So PULR Technologies has its cable DPPs listed in what's called CIRPASS, CIRPASS, the report from the consortia in Europe. We are also going to be participating in CIRPASS 2, where the use cases for DPPs on cables are going to be hashed out at scale and will be ready by 2027 when DPPs become mandated in Europe. We've proven it. You can do it today. And we're supporting use cases where people love it today. And we'll be going for use cases across the world for DPPs on cables that will let you, say, for instance, prove the authenticity of the manufacturing of a device. So is it a genuine part or not a genuine part? Is the DPP telling you what's the replacement part for an existing part, or how to dispose of the device at the end of life, or who's the manufacturer of the device, or what's the carbon footprint that went into manufacturing the device? There is so much that can be done with DPPs that it borderlines on what's the difference between a DPP that is static versus what actual information of a DPP you would like to be cached within the memory of the NFC chip on the tag so that it can work completely off the internet. So we think that there is a good reason to use NFC chips on a cable tag, because you can store a lot more information than you can print on a QR code. And that information is there for the entire duration of the product life cycle. All the R's of the circularity life cycle are covered by the NFC functionality. And we look forward to find use cases with you and support you in your quest to adopt DPPs. And we're extremely happy to make this product available to the market for the world to consume, and find partners all over the world that would like to make use of our technology. And it'll be soon enough that it won't be just our technology, it'll be your technology, because we like to partner with everybody. So thank you very much for your attention. And again, I'm Francois Ménard, CEO and founder of PULR Technologies. And this is our HeliTag, which, if it contains a DPP, is a HeliPass RFID. Thank you very much.